I think I hurt someone.
This is Ed Warren, here with Lorraine. All right, let's get started.
Residents of Brookfield were shocked this afternoon by the broad daylight murder of Bruno Sauls.
The court accepts the existence of God every time a witness swears to tell the truth. I think it's about time they accept the existence of the devil.
Whatever was going on, whatever happened that day, that was not Arnie.
It's a witch's totem. We think your family was cursed. And that connection's still open.
I'm only interested in reality.
But I can see things that your people can't.
Aloha! This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man. And last night, opening weekend night of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. I went ahead and I saw this movie. Now this stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga returning as the Warren couple from, I guess the very first Conjuring. Now, let me just say that I'm not a fan of the Conjuring movies, and I really haven't watched. I've watched like clips of the Conjuring when it's been on TV off and on and flipping through channels, but I've never really sat down and watched it. I've never watched the first Annabelle. I've watched the Annabelle, the beginning or whatever it was. You saw my thoughts on that a couple of years back. As far as that, but that did not have the Warrens, and so I really hadn't had too much experience with the Warrens. I did The Nun. These are all in that same lineup: Annabelle, The Nun, The Conjuring. The Conjuring, of course, started it all off, and and I guess this movie kind of finishes it off. This is kind of the end of the tale of the Warrens. And, well, without further ado, remember our rating scale. Shock a thumbs up. It's good to see. I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And for The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, it is, I'd say surprisingly, a shock a thumbs up. Now, for those of you who have watched my Annabelle, creation or the beginning or whatever it was, I gave that a shock a thumbs down. I also gave The Nun a shock a thumbs down. What I can't remember was the was the Spanish one part of The Conjuring? I can't remember. I did like that one. That was a shock a thumbs up. And this one, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, is an overall shock a thumbs up. But maybe not for the reasons that you might think. It was not a particularly scary horror movie. And I'd say it was a pretty weak entry overall into The Conjuring as far as jump scares go overall. What I can say about it is that it gave a nice, for those who are not familiar with the Conjuring universe like myself overall, or the Warrens, I mean, I've heard of them and what they did, and how they made a name for themselves as demonologists. I guess overall maybe parapsychologists is what you'd call them nowadays. But basically looking into demonic possessions, things like that, hauntings of sorts like that, anything to do with out-of-the-world supernatural kind of events like this. And they obviously have made a name for themselves during the late 70s and 80s when all that was the hoopla. I guess maybe when people weren't quite as skeptical. Now, other than that, what can I say about this movie? As with some of the other movies, it is, this one was based on, as much as with the Warrens, it was based on actual events. Now, there was a murder. There was a young man who murdered his landlord, which takes place in this movie. And he pled, demonic possession, basically, that the devil possessed him, and that's why he killed his landlord. He was sentenced to 20 years in jail, served 5, and apparently got out. This was back in 1981, someplace in Massachusetts. So I can say, the earlier years, when maybe the legal system was not quite so defined as far as, the insanity pleas and stuff like that. But essentially, I think if you were to listen to the case, it would probably be something that it's like, well, okay, kind of, sort of on reason of insanity. They only gave this, they gave him 20 years. So, which is a pretty good, which was pretty good for back then. He was facing life. They gave him 20 years, which is even standard fairly somewhat nowadays, and possible to get. And released in 5, maybe good behavior, etc. I guess maybe nowadays, if a defense like this was given, it would definitely be more so of an insanity plea and taken like that. Maybe the man would be institutionalized for life, if not the death penalty or in the prison penal system, but a mental institution for the rest of his life. But again, like I said, it was the 80s. Things were a little looser back in the day. And, this man was a white man, so, there was apparently some leniency there. I don't know, the movie never really goes into the trial or goes into the defense that the Warrens bring up to his lawyer, stating that it is demonic possession that, that I want to say might have drove him, but they say, and the movie implies that, yes, it really did. Me being more of a skeptic, I was like, it might have happened, or at least in his mind, he was demonically possessed. But apparently, this movie opens up. The Warrens are in the middle of a exorcism of a small child in a home with their family, and the gentleman who would later kill his landlord under demonic possession is the young child that is possessed, apparently. They go through the exorcism. Unfortunately, the child breaks loose, pins down this young man that would later kill his landlord, and basically being friends with the family and wanting, and in love with this kid's older sister, says, hey, demon, take me instead. I give myself to you. Leave this kid alone, right? And so apparently the demon does that. The Warrens and the priest think that he was exorcised, but it really went into this other kid with the invitation. And thus later on comes out and makes this person, doesn't really seem to possess him as much as makes him see a demon attacking him, which turns out to be his landlord, and he kills his landlord. Very much like Eddie Murphy said, kill my landlord. Kill. or CILQ my landlord, you know, kind of a thing. But that was kind of an old cut for you guys from Saturday Night Live. But essentially, so he's captured by the police, goes on trial, you know, is incarcerated for the trial. We don't see much of the trial other than the Warrens going to this man's lawyer and basically saying, hey, it's demonic possession, you know, it really wasn't his fault. And of course the lawyer says, oh, what the heck are you guys talking about? They say, oh, come over to our house, we'll show you some tapes and you know what they talking about. The next thing you see is like, yes, judge, it was demonic possession, that's what we're going with. So apparently whatever the Warrens had shown them, or shown this lawyer, was enough to, yes, now I believe, and I'm going to go ahead and, oh, they also mentioned, we'll show you the doll Annabelle too. So, you know, whatever they'd shown this lawyer was enough to get them on board with this defense. So, you know, it would have been nice in the movie to have seen a little bit, even some clips maybe from the other films, tales of what the Warrens might have actually shown this person, this lawyer, to make them change their mind so suddenly, because they seem pretty well set. It's like, you're nuts, right? You know, maybe, you know, Annabelle attacking, maybe they felt that was too much, you know, grammatic liberty, who knows? But I think, you know, that would have been that should have been something to show, and it would have provided a little bit more jump scares. Basically, most of the jump scares that you see in this, you've seen from the trailer. There is like one other good jump scare, but it was executed well, but you knew it was going to happen. That's where later on the Warrens are separated. You know, the husband, Patrick Wilson's character is looking for Vera Farmiga's character down in these tunnels, believes he sees her, she runs close, and then boom, as soon as it's close, it turns out to be not her, you know, and it changes right there in front of him and attacks him, essentially. That was the only jump scare that was not in the trailer, but you knew, it's like, oh, you know, don't fall for that, you know, because she comes running straight towards, like, oh, where are you, honey? Oh, you know, and then she comes running straight towards him, and it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. And of course it wasn't. So, so there you have it. I'll go into a little bit more spoilers here as far as what takes place. So you're never shown exactly. You know, at first I thought maybe this was going to be like a trial kind of, you know, it's like, oh, this is it's going to delve into the judicial system and how maybe they might have handled this back in the day. No, you don't see any of the courtroom procedure other than the announcement that, oh, we're pleading demonic possession. Other than that, it goes to the Warrens to try to... It's later discovered that this demon has entered this kid, this young man, because of a curse done to him by a witch. So it really has nothing all that much to do with demonic possession other than a witch going about throwing around curses and cursing these people for a reason that is not exactly 100% clear. Perhaps it has something to do with the death of her mother when she was a younger. The movie, I guess I missed it. I was watching, trying to figure this out with these guys, you know, with the rest of the audience, and it's like, wait, you know, so they come across that it's like they discover these totems that was placed under the house where this kid was demonically possessed. Turns out it was this curse, but the curse was passed to the other gentleman when he offered himself to the demon, which the witch is using to fulfill, basically has bound this demon to do her wishes. But in doing so, it must get a soul eventually. Although it kills several people, it doesn't take any of the dead people's souls. So again, that's kind of unclear. It's like, it seems like he's got plenty of a quota already, because a lot of people die in this already. But yeah, so I'm not exactly sure on the clarity of why or how this curse works, or why this witch was cursing these people, other than it probably had to do with the death of her mother and the fact that she was orphaned at a young age, and something like that. But again, it's either talked about so quickly that I missed it in the film, or it really wasn't brought up to very clearly at all. Because again, once again, I missed it. I was going over this. They were talking to an older priest who we find out raised this girl and accidentally taught her the occult, thus her becoming a witch or Satanist, and cursing these people. But again, it's unclear as why she was going after these particular people, and if she was going after the family of the child, why she allowed this demon to go after this new person instead. So yeah, really, really unclear. You know, the man who kills his landlord under the demonic possession clause. Although he was not really demonically possessed, but cursed, the Warrens never tell that to the lawyer to change the plea that, oh, wait, he's not possessed, he's cursed. So maybe that's a little more leniency. Or maybe that would have just thought that they were more cuckoo and dropped the whole thing and said, yes, life imprisonment or death penalty. But, I don't know. Again, it doesn't really follow much of the actual story. A lot of this, other than the fact that the actual events that a man kills his landlord, pleads demonic possession, it is unclear how much of this story is. I'm certain that the demonic entity, at least the Satanist, the slash witch, her father, the older priest, retired priest, were all contrived things to make the story flow better and give it a little bit more oomph, other than just following this man's prosecution into the penal system under the guise of demonic possession. But in that respect that they're hunting for this witch, this Satanist witch, I gave it a shock of thumbs up, because it is more of a standard mystery than it is a, battle against the devil and demons, etc., which is the problem that I felt with Annabelle and the Nun. So in this, you really feel like the Warrens have a chance, that this kid might have a chance, this young man, to overcome this curse, because all they have to do is beat this human. Sure, she has supernatural powers, witchcraft, able to bend a demon to her will, but eventually, and ultimately it is a human being of flesh and blood that they must defeat, despite extra powers, not some demon force like an Annabelle or spirit like the first couple of Conjurings. So in that respect, and the respect of the mystery where they go tracking down this Satanist and slowly walk you through, it's much more of a detective thriller mystery movie than it is the spooky horror movie, scary movie of the earlier Conjurings, which I found refreshing and enough to give it a shock of thumbs up. People going mainly for the jump scares and the tears and the big spooky boos, monsters jumping out, will be disappointed by this film. Do I think this is a great film? No. But again, as far as the mystery goes, and the detective work that the Warrens do in that respect, I did give it a shock of thumbs up and feel that it's a better film overall than the other Conjurings, just For that of a little bit more grounded in reality as far as, you know, the search for clues goes, outside of the, you know, supernatural, outside of the supernatural or metaphysical realm of just having to defeat demons and the devil. In fact, you know, if anything, I feel that's a major flaw with this movie is that, oh, you know, The Conjuring 3, the devil made me do it. Maybe, you know, the devil didn't really make him do it. I mean, you know, it was this witch that made him do it. But I guess they wanted to keep that as a mystery and more along with the demon slash devil theme of the rest of the Conjuring movies and the Annabelle movies, you know, to keep in line with this one. Whereas that's an overall weakness for somebody looking for a straight up horror movie. It was a strength and a benefit to me, again, because it turned out to be more of a mystery slash, you know, detective kind of thriller than, you know, just a jump scare that we had seen in The Nun and the Annabelle movies. All right. So overall, again, just to reiterate, this was based on true events. The man was sentenced to 20 years, you know, but only served 5. But again, this was in the 80s, where things were a little looser. And it was probably likely due to a defense of insanity or perceived insanity under the guise of demonic possession. You know, you do hear some of the tapes, the groans that the Warrens had done at the end. You do see a little bit of an interview of the real life Warrens where they're talking to TV personalities about this case and why they felt it was demonic possession. But again, what little you see in the after credits or during the credits for those, to me, really isn't enough to, you know, get me over the fact that, oh, this whole movie was pretty much fabricated other than and outside the events of this man killed his landlord and used the excuse of demonic possession. Despite, you know, these, on this tape recording of weird screams and such, you know, which, you know, a schizophrenic on his worst days could easily portray those types of sounds, etc. And thus answered there. Perhaps the man had a psychotic break at that moment. Perhaps there was something, you know, the landlord was eyeing his girlfriend. We'll never know the truth. But the Warrens think they knew the truth. This movie would have you believe that was the truth. But again, you know, this is just contrived backstory and embellishment upon actual events, the like of which the truth is out there, but we'll probably never really know. All right, but again, overall, as far as a mystery, detective, thriller, it is good enough for a shock a thumbs up from me. As far as a jump horror scare, I think you better, you know, a hardcore horror movie, you better keep looking. All right, thank you so much. This is Trinidad the Island Man, your Island Man. Again, Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Overall, a shock a thumbs up. Just maybe not, you know, the horror movie you're looking for. All right, thank you so much, and aloha.